Immanuel Kant, the famous German philosopher, said, "Getting angry is punishing yourself with the mistakes of others." Any form of anger damages one's physical and mental health. What kind of damage could anger cause us? Is it possible for us to control our minds to avoid getting angry? Professor Yuli Liu from the Department of Philosophy at the Party School of Central Committee of CPC is going to explain to us how to nurture the heart and cultivate oneself. To do this, she will draw on the governing principles of ancient China and various Confucian texts. Here, from Yuli Liu's lecture series on the governing principles of ancient China, is the section titled, "Getting Angry is Punishing Yourself with the Mistakes of Others." Professor Yuli Liu graduated with a bachelor's and master's degree in philosophy from Renmin University of China. She is currently a professor at the Department of Philosophy at the Party School of Central Committee of CPC and a mentor for doctoral students majoring in ethics. She is also a visiting professor at Tsinghua College, Sun Yat-sen University. Professor Yuli Liu has published many academic papers, received a PhD from the University of Hull, UK, and is a postdoctoral scholar at the National University of Singapore. She has been invited to give lectures and participate in workshop seminars in the UK, Italy, the USA, Canada, Australia, Japan, Singapore and Indonesia. In 2015, 2016 and 2017, she was invited to UNESCO headquarters in Paris to give talks based on the governing principles of ancient China. The central theme of her talks was the importance of the sage's education. In other words, learning from the wisdom of the past and also how to promote moral education. She has contributed greatly towards the dissemination of Oriental culture in the Western world. This video was edited by the Governing Principles of Ancient China translation team of the Pure Land Learning College Association and is based on the lectures by Professor Yuli Liu.
Dear friends, greetings to you. Today's episode is called Getting Angry is Punishing Yourself with the Mistakes of Others. I'd like to ask you a question. What is anger? Think a while about what it means to you. Did you know that the Chinese character for anger contains symbols of wisdom? Today we are going to learn about the word anger from Chinese characters. It's so interesting. In Chinese, the character for anger is the combination of two words. In the upper part is the character for slave, and in the lower part is the character for heart. A slave, a heart. What does this idea of anger mean? Well, when we are angry, our heart loses control of our emotions, just like slaves who lose control of their freedom. We can't control our state of mind and we get angry. However, a lot of people do not realise that anger comes from within, and so they try and put the blame for their anger on others or on external factors. Their excuses might not be true or real. Why? Let's think about it. Logically, you have your own mind inside of you. It is not a mind from external factors. So, who is the person that is making you angry? You, yourself, and only yourself. I read an interesting article entitled, "You Hold the Keys to Your Own Happiness." It's an excellent article, and I'd like to share a quote from it. "A mature person holds the keys to his own happiness and has no expectations of others to give him happiness. On the contrary, he could give happiness to others. Every one of us has the key to our own happiness. However, we tend to lose control of our key to others. For example, a wife complained, I am not happy with my husband as he is often on business trips and is rarely at home. Here, in this situation, she has given control of her key to happiness to her husband. A mother complained, "I am angry because my child is not obedient." Here, she has given the control of her key to happiness to her child. A mother-in-law said, "My daughter-in-law is not being dutiful to me. She is making my life miserable." And again, the mother-in-law has given the control of her key to happiness to her daughter-in-law. A man said, "My boss is always finding faults with me, which is stressing me out." And there you see, he has given the control of his key to happiness to his boss. Last, a young man came out of a store and said, "The store owner in there has very bad customer service, which made me furious." And here also, the young man has given the control of his key to happiness to the store owner. All these people mentioned above made the same decision. That is, they let others control their emotions. When they did so, they felt that they were victims and had no control over the current situation. And so, complaining and getting angry became their only choice. When you blame others, you are effectively saying that your pain and suffering is caused by them, and it is they who are responsible for how you feel. Let's suppose we are in the company of people who are easily irritated or become angered easily by trivial matters. This would affect and cause anxiety within us. Why is that? Because we wouldn't know when that person would have an outburst about something trivial. Since we know that others getting angry can affect us emotionally, we'd better keep tighter control of the key to our happiness. But sadly, most of the time we relinquish the control of this precious key to others. We give it to our parents, to our partners, to our children, to our colleagues and to our leaders. The article, "You Hold the Keys to Your Own Happiness," teaches us and reminds us that we should take a firm hold of the key to our own happiness and be in control of our own state of mind.
In the last session, Professor Liu analysed the composition of the Chinese character for anger and explained that when we get angry, we lose control of our emotions. When we can't control our state of mind, we are inclined to make wrong judgments and sometimes do wrong things. Also, did you know that getting angry has a negative impact on our health and work? The article, "You Hold the Keys to Your Own Happiness," explains to us that being in control of our emotions is like holding the trump card to pacify our anger. Ask yourself what harm could anger do to us physically and mentally, and what we could do to control our state of mind and pacify our anger. Let us continue with lectures on the governing principles of ancient China. Getting angry is punishing yourself with the mistakes of others.
Getting angry is punishing yourself with the mistakes of others. Why is getting angry punishing yourself with the mistakes of others? First, getting angry will have a negative impact on your own health. In the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine, one of the most important textbooks of traditional Chinese medicine, we learn that excessive anger harms the liver. Therefore, a person who gets angry frequently would most likely have issues with their liver. Also, according to traditional Chinese medicine, frequent anger may contribute to hair loss, high blood pressure, coronary heart disease, gastric ulcers and more. So you can see that getting angry is indeed punishing oneself with the mistakes of others. Anger does indeed contribute to health problems, and there are studies showing the relationship between emotions and the inner organs. According to traditional Chinese medicine, hatred, complaining, vexation, anger, and worry are 5 common moods like 5 poisonous pills. These moods hurt 5 organs: the heart, spleen, lungs, liver, and kidneys. Therefore, as you can see, if we are immersed in these negative states of mind, our health will be affected sooner or later. So now let's find out how we should control our emotions and pacify anger. We said before Chinese characters are in fact symbols of wisdom. The composition of the Chinese character for anger implies that when we are angry, our hearts lose control of our mood, just like slaves losing control of their freedom. How do we transform anger to forgiveness? Let's get to know another Chinese character, Shu. The character Shu is very close in composition to the character for anger. But one of the meanings of Shu is forgiveness. You might ask, when the ancient sages invented Chinese characters, why did they give 2 such opposing words such similar appearances? As we mentioned before, the Chinese character for anger is the combination of 2 Chinese characters, for slave and for heart. The upper part of anger is the character for slave, with sharp corners and tips. If we change the sharp corners and tips of slave into a square, the upper part becomes another Chinese word for as, and the whole character becomes Shu, which means forgiveness instead of anger. The lower part is still the character for heart. So, how do we forgive others from the character Shu? Be as hearts of others. That is, we should try to put ourselves in others' shoes and consider ourselves in their situation. For example, before we treat others in a certain way, we need to consider, could I accept being treated in the same way? When others have done something wrong, before we lose our temper, we should first consider, am I a perfect person? Am I a person who always acts wisely without making any errors at all? If I am not a perfect person and I still make mistakes, how could I demand others to be perfect? Also, if it was us who did something wrong, how would we expect others to treat us? Would we still have the right to beg others for forgiveness? We would hope others consider the situation we were in and give us an opportunity to make things right again. With such considerations, when others do something wrong, shouldn't we forgive them and give them another chance? So considering the situation of others as their hearts is the way of transforming anger to forgiveness, according to the composition of the Chinese word Shu. In the governing principles of ancient China, Confucius's extraordinary statement on Shu was recorded. When a disciple approached Confucius and asked, "Master, is there one word that I can use as a rule of practice for all my life?" Confucius replied, "Yes, the word is Shu. Do not do to others what you do not want others to do to you." So, what is the deeper meaning of Shu? Consideration. Guidelines for Being a Good Person, Di Zi Gui, has a similar line. Before we ask others to do something, we should first ask ourselves if we could do it. If not, then we should not ask others to do it. As you see, the words in Guidelines for Being a Good Person are quite simple. But if you could understand the underlying meanings and use them in your daily interactions with people and matters, you'd know what to give and what to take and whether it should be done and how to do it. The greatest Tao is of great simplicity, and profound truth is always expressed in the easiest and clearest ways. Don't ignore guidelines for being a good person just because it is expressed in the simplest way. Although the Chinese text has only 1,080 characters in 360 lines and gives 113 principles, if we could practice the teachings in daily life, we'd soon find that all our relationships would improve. The further wisdom of Shu, consideration, can also be found in the school sayings of Confucius in the governing principles of ancient China. A gentleman has 3 Shu considerations. What are the 3? First, not serving his leader wholeheartedly while ordering his own subordinates. This is inconsiderate. It means that you yourself could not provide satisfactory service to your leaders, and yet you require your subordinates to serve you well and wholeheartedly. This is the first inconsideration. Second, not fulfilling his filial duties to his parents, but demanding his own children to be filial. This is also inconsiderate. You couldn't be filial to your parents or satisfy them, yet you expect your child to be filial to you and to serve you well. This is the second inconsideration. Third, not respecting his elder siblings, but demanding his younger siblings to be submissive. This is again inconsiderate. You do not treat your elder brothers and sisters with respect, yet you expect your younger siblings to treat you with respect. This is the third inconsideration. Therefore, if we want to be considerate, we should start from self-regulation and first put ourselves in others' shoes. This is the application of consideration as it happens in 3 roles: as an employee, a child, and a sibling. Furthermore, in the Great Learning, in the governing principles of ancient China, it was recorded that what he hates in his superiors, he does not give to his inferiors. What he hates in those below him, he does not pass up to those above him. What he hates in his peer on the right, he doesn't transfer to the peer on the left. What he hates in his peer on the left, he doesn't transfer to the peer on the right. This is a detailed explanation of being considerate at work. If you hated what your leader did and it disgusted you, then don't do the same thing to your subordinates. If you feel annoyed and frustrated at your subordinates for being careless and forgetful of your instructions, then you shouldn't behave the same way to your manager. As to your peers, such as your colleagues, when they leave their job without a proper handing over to you, you must not do the same to your peers when you leave your job. Once you start the work, you must finish the work and be responsible for your work before passing it to the next person. These are all called the way of consideration. We've been looking at forgiveness and consideration, but does Shu have even more meanings? As we mentioned before, Shu is the combination of 2 Chinese characters, as and heart. If the heart is not the heart of others, but the true heart in philosophy, the deeper meaning and wisdom of Shu can be further explored. What is true heart? True heart is the true nature of everyone. Everyone has a true nature of true purity and kindness. What exactly is our true nature then? I, other people, all beings, plants, animals, land, rivers, and mountains are all of one entity. That sounds complicated, so how can we understand it? Let's start with water. If the true nature is indicated as water, then all beings are just like bubbles in an ocean. What is the relationship of the bubbles? Actually, they are all from one water. Now consider this. What if each bubble insisted on the view that it was I, and therefore different from other bubbles, and in conflict with them. The cause of such conflict can be compared to conflict throughout the world. It occurs because people do not know they all come from one true nature, just like bubbles from one water. An enlightened person is one who fully understands this fact and finds the true nature. He is like a bubble that ruptures and becomes the ocean. The ocean is the true self of all bubbles, like the true nature of all beings. However, those of us who are deluded sentient beings haven't seen the truth and easily have conflicts with others. It can start with discriminating between self and others for individual interests. This is why people end up exchanging punches. They don't know the true nature. After we understand the true nature, what is the deeper meaning and wisdom of the Chinese word shu? We should be as true heart and understand that all beings are from one true nature. So for those who practice the wisdom of shu in daily life, what do you think they would do? They'd know they are of one entity with others, with animals, plants, rivers and mountains. What does one entity mean? It means the all is like the parts of a body, and no one can be separated from others. For example, when our teeth accidentally bite our tongue, will the tongue be angry and seek revenge from the teeth? No, the tongue will not, because the tongue knows they are of one entity. Those who fully understand this truth are those who find their true nature and are called benevolent people. Mencius said, benevolent people have no enemy. What does this mean? A benevolent person loves all beings, like loving the parts of his or her own body, and does not regard anyone as an enemy in their heart. In Buddhism, bodhisattvas are the enlightened benevolent. Why can bodhisattvas have unconditional compassion for others the same as for oneself? Because we are all one. And why is it widely known that Guan Yin Bodhisattva has great compassion and mercy? Because bodhisattvas are enlightened and see the true nature. They fully understand that all beings, including themselves, are from the one entity, so they can love all beings naturally without any conditions. As for ordinary human beings, we tend to have conditional mercy and love, which are not based on the understanding of one entity. The scope of our love is very limited and mostly for our loved ones, like our partner, our parents, our children and our friends. When they are in need, we are eager to help them out of their problems. As for those with whom we have no connection, we would be indifferent and might not care about their needs. This is the difference between enlightened, benevolent persons and ordinary people. Let's have a look at typical people in the world. They work 9 to 5 and are busy all the time. What is the driving force that motivates them? There is a saying which goes like this: the world hustles and bustles for benefits. If there is no benefit, or fame, or gain, probably few people would work long hours from 9 to 5. Or many people would simply not do anything if there was no benefit to be gained. Enlightened, benevolent people always work very hard as well, but for different benefits. What is driving them to help those sentient beings who are enduring pain and suffering? The driving force for benevolent people is the wisdom of Shu, being as true heart. This leads to the great and unconditional compassion from the sense of one entity. By being as true heart, they can fully understand the pain and happiness of others, just like within themselves. So what can we learn from the wisdom of Shu on resolving anger? Be forgiving, considerate and compassionate to others, because we are all one.
In the last session, Professor Yuli Liao quoted from the Yellow Emperor's Classics of Internal Medicine and explained that anger leads to problems with the liver, high blood pressure, coronary disease, and more. Anger will also lead to tense relationships with friends, relatives, and colleagues, which might have a negative impact on a person's work and career. Professor Liu also quoted from the Great Learning, Guidelines for Being a Good Person, and the school sayings of Confucius in the governing principles of ancient China, and wrote out a prescription for those who are prone to get angry. It is the Chinese character for shu, which is the combination of two words, as and heart. By being as heart of others, we can be considerate. There is one invaluable sentence worth remembering. Do not do to others what you do not want others to do to you. If it is the mistakes of others that causes us to get angry, we should put ourselves in their shoes, consider their conditions, and then calm our anger. By being as true heart, the deeper wisdom of Shu explores how all beings are actually from one true nature and of one entity. We should be compassionate towards others and not seek revenge against anyone, because we are the one. Apart from the above example, are there other ways to quell anger? Let us continue with lectures on the governing principles of ancient China. Getting angry is punishing yourself with the mistakes of others.
When talking about how to quell anger, there is an easy solution, one that involves the concept, tolerate. What does the word tolerate mean? Let's try and understand it from its Chinese character. The Chinese character for tolerate is ren, which contains wisdom. We can see that ren is the combination of the two Chinese characters for knife and heart. What does this mean? It tells us tolerate is not when courtesies are being exchanged, nor when people are on good terms in their communication. Tolerate is when a knife is on top of your heart and your reaction to the situation is as if nothing had happened. This is truly ren. This is tolerance. If we want to quell our anger, we need to learn how to be tolerant. There are many different levels of tolerance. In ancient China, there were 6 levels involved. The first level is forceful tolerance, which means to tolerate with great force. For example, if there are people slandering me and saying negative things about me, I will try my best to control my anger by force, by not responding, not retaliating. If I am able to do this, I'd be on the level of forceful tolerance. But if one day I feel my force has been used up and I'm about to respond with anger, I need to go up a level. The second level is forgetting tolerance. What does this mean? I can broaden my mind to forget the attack on me by others and not take it to heart. When it's over, it's over. The third level is reflective tolerance. Tolerate by reflecting on oneself. In Mencius, it is recorded, when you don't get what you seek, reflect upon yourself. This has been regarded as the heart method in traditional Chinese culture. Whenever we cannot get the desirable result, we must not blame others. On the contrary, we must reflect upon ourselves and see what can be improved. For example, if a person is very humble and polite towards everyone except me, what does that tell me? I must have said something inconsiderate or offended him unknowingly. When you don't get what you seek, reflect upon yourself. The fourth level is contemplative tolerance. Tolerate by contemplating on the things and people that are making us angry. In the Diamond Sutra, we read the following text. All conditioned existences are like a dream, an illusion, a bubble, or a shadow, like a dewdrop or a flash of lightning. Contemplate them thus. The things we had experienced yesterday are gone and are illusory, just like a dream. They are like bubbles which can burst easily. They are also like thunder and lightning, which last for a split second. The same holds true for those things that make you angry. Such things also lapse quickly. Even those people who make you angry, where will they be after several decades? Do you have to hold grudges against them? Just think, in another 40 or 80 years, where will those people be? They could just be ashes in an urn. Is it still worthwhile to hold grudges against them? The things and the people that made you angry are all like dreams and bubbles. They will not exist for long. Contemplate on this and you will easily let all unhappiness go. In contrast, if you keep holding on to grudges and always think about those things and people, you'll make yourself angry and unhappy all the time, while those people might not even be aware of your actions. Aren't you punishing yourself with the mistakes of others? We need to develop contemplative tolerance. The fifth level of tolerance is rejoicing tolerance. Tolerate by rejoicing at our improvement in self-cultivation. When others criticise us, even slander or ridicule us, we shouldn't be offended or feel frustrated. On the contrary, we should be happy. Why should we be happy? We should see it as if those people were testing us on how well we've done in our self-cultivation and specifically on our level of tolerance. Let's treat those people as examiners rather than anger makers. Life is a process full of all sorts of tests. For our academic progress, we had to take tests in primary school, which were not hard. But when we went to high school and then to university and even to the master's degree or doctoral degree levels of study, the tests involved became increasingly difficult. It is the same in the progress of self-cultivation. So why do we encounter these people who make us angry in our life? They are the examiners who test our cultivation of tolerance. We should treat them as if they were assessing us on the level of our self-cultivation. This isn't always easy. So what should we do? We must not be angry, but happily accept the tests as the normal process of life. If we can pass the tests, we'd prove that we have reached a higher level. We have improved. That's great. So let's rejoice about this. The highest level is the sixth level, which is called empathetic tolerance. When others have done something wrong, instead of criticising or retaliating, we should put ourselves in their shoes, empathise with their conditions, and then try to help and transform them. Why? In China, there is a saying, "Abominable people must have their pitiable reasons." It's a great saying, isn't it? I have heard of a true story about a boy who, despite his age, was exhibiting antisocial behaviour. For no reason at all, he would scratch luxury cars which were parked on the street near the curb with a knife. Now, some owners might get angry at such destructive behaviour, which doesn't benefit the vandal. Yes, for the owners, it is quite natural to react with anger. However, there is a saying in China that, when criticising others, we should find out their heart. When we comment on the errors of others, we should delve deeper and understand the reason for their actions. So going back to the story about our young vandal, some people investigated and found out why the child wanted to scratch those cars. They discovered that the boy's parents were divorced. His father had remarried and formed a new family. His mother had also remarried and formed her own new family. Hence this boy was left alone and virtually became an orphan. He had no love from his parents which gave him a negative view of the world. All he felt was indifference and animosity against everything. As a result, he exhibited antisocial behaviour from a young age. So the root of this boy's behaviour was the lack of love from his parents. In contrast, responsible parents are very different. When they hear that there is a very good study camp on the teaching of guidelines for being a good person, they try their best to send their children there. When they hear there is a very good way of improving academic study methods, they try and make sure their children have access to it. They provide for their children the best they can. In comparison, the boy in our story was in a miserable situation. If we understood his situation, would we still want to retaliate against him? We wouldn't be angry with him anymore and might even try to help and transform him. As a result, our sense of responsibility and mission would have been upgraded to a new level, that of empathetic tolerance. So, if we still get angry with what we see, it is because we haven't achieved a high enough level of tolerance in our own cultivation. This may be hard for many people to comprehend and accept. But if we think about the story of the boy, we'd understand why we should cultivate ourselves to a higher level. Many people are just used to getting angry whenever they are faced with anything unsatisfactory. What should we do about this? We should know the negative impact of getting angry and remember it is not good for our physical and mental health. Also, it affects the relationships between others and us.
In the last session, Professor Yuli Liu quoted from classics such as Mencius, Guidelines for Being a Good Person, and the Diamond Sutra, and issued her second prescription: tolerance towards those who get angry easily. According to Professor Liu, to tolerate is not to suffer humiliation. Neither is it acknowledging defeat or self-deception. It is a kind of moral self-cultivation that elevates one's views on the world, on life, and on values. Furthermore, it is a process of moral practice in life, advancing from forceful to forgetting, to reflective, to contemplative, to rejoicing, and finally to empathic tolerance. The process is a great journey of self-improvement towards a mature and enlightened life, with the motto that when you don't get what you seek, reflect upon yourself. We will awaken the conscience of those abominable and pitiable people. We will also definitely bring out our own heart back to a peaceful and joyful place. Let us continue with lectures on the governing principles of ancient China. Getting angry is punishing yourself with the mistakes of others.
There was a banker in Houston, Texas, in the USA, who when young had a very bad temper and got angry easily at trivial things. He later told the story of how he overcame his problem. One day his father gave him a small bucket of nails and told him, "When you're angry, hammer a nail into the fence in the backyard." On the first day, he hammered 16 nails into the fence. What does that tell us? He was an angry boy. He got angry 16 times that day. By hammering nails into the fence, he was reminded to control his temper. Gradually, his bouts of getting angry decreased, and the number of new nails in the fence reduced as well. One day, he could completely control his temper and had no anger. He reported his change to his father. His father said to him, "Very good, you've done well. From now on, if you have no anger for a whole day, you can go to the fence and pull one nail out." Taking about 7 months, he eventually pulled out all the nails from the fence. He again reported to his father, "I have successfully pulled out all the nails." His father replied wisely to him, "Son, have you seen those holes in the fence? Even though the nails are no longer there, the fence is not as unblemished as it was originally. Every time you lose your temper, your hurtful words are just like those nails making holes, and these holes are just like scars in the hearts of the people you attacked. Your hurtful words are also like knives stabbing those people. Although you pull out the nails and knives, no matter how many times you say, 'I'm sorry,' those scars, like the holes in the fence, will always be there." This is quite a meaningful story. Let us all bear in mind that a bad temper can only make our communications with people more difficult, not easier. We must find ways to overcome the habit of getting angry easily. We can use affirmations to help us overcome this bad habit of anger. Each night, stand in front of the mirror and say, "From now on, you must not be angry at anything." In the morning, do the same in front of the mirror, but with different words. You are not angry anymore. You have already stopped being angry. You can handle any situation peacefully and hold the key to your own happiness. Of course, we know old habits are hard to stop. Once the habit is formed, it can be very hard to change. However, we must understand with confidence that these bad habits are not innate. They were formed in our daily lives after birth. As long as we have confidence and a resolute will, we can eventually overcome any bad habit. I believe that after 3 months of continuous practice, even if we are faced with the most awful people, we will not lose our temper so easily. If we can do this, we will have truly found the key to happiness and become the real master of our emotions.
One nail added for one tantrum, one nail removed for one calm day. Professor Yuli Liu told us a story of an American banker who, as a child, successfully stopped the habit of losing his temper. She demonstrated to us that even though it might be hard, it is possible to change bad habits eventually. Anger is like a fire that will burn our forest of merits and virtues. We must learn from this Buddhist saying. Anger burns away affection, friendship, love, gratitude, and trust between you and others. It is definitely not a worthwhile reaction to hold on to. Getting angry never brings us happiness, so we should maintain our efforts to tame our anger over time and smile at whatever comes our way in life with a peaceful attitude. By so doing, we will have permanent happiness.